Welcome to another edition of the Hoop Scoop. I'm Jarret Johnson, and I have to say, after my travels to the West Coast covering the NCAA tournament, the Red Raiders in the NCAA tournament, I am very happy to be back in the hub, back in West Texas. That's not to say I didn't have an epic time. It was a lot of fun. Especially San Diego was amazing. I saw the sights in San Francisco, and that was great as well. But of course, I saw some great basketball, and Texas Tech's run came to an end at the hands of Duke in the Sweet 16 in San Francisco. But before I get into all that in the games, I just want to say how much gratitude I have for getting to cover the NCAA tournament. I've covered several now, dating back to my time with the 4-Star Telegram, and I love basketball in general. The NCAA tournament is just such a unique event. There's so much excitement around it. The games are so tense, they're so intense, and it's just so much fun to cover that kind of competition and that sport and that setting, and just be there, whether you're in whatever capacity. This NCAA tournament and basketball and college basketball has meant so much to me in my life. So to get to be there in that capacity covering Texas Tech is just an amazing thing for me. It's a dream come true. And I was actually struck. I wrote about this in a story I published earlier here recently, about the culture enduring under Mark Adams, that this season proved that. It's on Inside the Red Raiders, free story. You could read it if you haven't checked it out yet. But I was struck as sitting there, courtside, as Texas Tech was about to tip off the first round against Montana State, with just that feeling of gratitude for being back there. It was my first game since covering the national championship in 2019, and of course COVID they canceled the 2020 tournament, and then in 2021 there were still all these travel restrictions. I know CBS wasn't allowing anybody to travel, so I didn't get to go cover that tournament as well. So I really was feeling, I always do with that kind of event, but it really hit home when I was sitting there courtside as Texas Tech tipped off the game. Well, speaking of that game, I know I've talked about it in previous videos, but Texas Tech crushing Montana State was a lot of fun. Not only did their defense just suffocate the Bobcats, but they shot something like 67% from the field, 60% from deep, and scored a record 97 points, program tournament record 97 points on the way to the victory. So that was just a lot of fun. And then it was a totally different field against Notre Dame. Tech's defense always shows up, of course, but they couldn't buy a bucket for most of the game. Even it's not like it was Notre Dame's defense. It was just Texas Tech was missing point blank, uncontested shots, and it was very frustrating. But in the end, their defense, Kevin McCullough and Marcus Santasilva making clutch plays on both ends of the court. And then Kevin O'Banner's 15-point, 15-rebound performance carried the day. And, it was really cool to see Marcus Santasilva get to have his moment with the free throws and those great defensive plays, but then Kevin McCullough throwing down that two-handed jam to really put the game away, and just how exciting the arena was. That was a whole lot of fun. So everything in San Diego was amazing. And then the build-up to the Sweet 16 game against Duke in San Francisco. And I said going into it, it felt like a coin toss game, whoever played better, because they were so evenly matched. And that's really how it turned out. Texas Tech still shocked Duke with their defensive pressure, that no middle defense. Obviously, Duke's very well coached, but you could see it on the players' faces that they were surprised by the intensity and all those turnovers Tech forced early to get out on the fast break and build an early lead. Of course, Duke would adjust. They made some really nice adjustments. They took advantage of some things with Tech switching that other teams really don't have the capabilities of doing or couldn't do it consistently. Duke was able to. They shot lights out in the second half. It's like 70% in the second half. Scored almost 50 points in the second half on Tech. And the Red Raiders were trading shots with them. It was an epic game. It was one of the best tournament games I've seen in person ever. But Duke just made the plays they had to on both ends of the court in the last minute or two, and made their free throws and advanced. And now they're in the Final Four. So it was a tough loss for Texas Tech, but great game. Getting to that point, all the things they accomplished this year, Mark Adams definitely cemented his status as the guy at Texas Tech, and that the Red Raiders are going to be a player on the national stage for years to come. But now, of course, we're already in the offseason and things are already happened. Terrence Shannon, is in the transfer portal. He left the door open for coming back. Kevin McCullough is going to test NBA waters. He said he has 2 years of eligibility remaining. That he left the door open for his return as well. So it'll be interesting to see what the other guys do. I mean, you lose Bryson Williams, you lose Adonis Arms. Those are tough losses. Santos Silva, Davion Warren. Those guys have exhausted their eligibility. So those are tough losses. And then you have to see who else. Does Kevin O'Banner come back? He has at least a year. Somebody told me close to Kevin O'Banner here recently that he may have 2 years of eligibility remaining. So that is something to watch. And then, guys like Clarence Nadolny, Chibuzo Agbo, KJ Allen, Daniel Batcho, do they return or not? That's something to watch. And then you have all kinds of guys coming in, Pop Isaacs, Lamar Washington, several guys. Jalen Tyson is somebody to watch. Watch him practice out there. I think either before the Montana State game or between the Montana State and Notre Dame games, and physically he's definitely there. He's a legit 6'6". He's put on some weight since his high school days, and he looks good. And we'll have to see what he does. Ethan Duncan will return, after redshirting after his shoulder injury. We'll see if he adds some, perimeter shooting. He's definitely a very good shooter. We'll see if he can help out there. And then, Austin Masters is already detailing some targets that the Red Raiders have in terms of guys in the portal already. So there'll be a lot of movement. We'll cover the heck out of it. But my main takeaways were just how, how gratifying it was, how much I appreciate getting to be out there again. And then the fact that, look, Texas Tech basketball is here to stay in terms of being national players, challenging for Big 12 titles and making deep tourney runs. That was their third Sweet 16 in the last 4 tournaments, which also include an Elite 8, and then obviously in 2019 the run to the national championship game where they were seconds away from claiming that title. So a lot of excitement still around the program. It's going to be a crazy offseason. I had a lot of fun. San Diego is an amazing town. It's one of the best places I've ever visited. San Francisco is a completely different world, but some of the sights were awe-inspiring, no doubt. Big shout out to Riveter Outfitter for taking me and my boy Pete Christie. Most of y'all know from News Channel 11 here in Lubbock, but also he's my co-host on the Rockin' Pregame. River Outfitter is a big sponsor of that show, and they took us around to see the sights both in San Diego and in San Francisco, so really appreciate y'all. But it was a great time. I hate that it ended shorter than we all wanted, but I think it also was mission accomplished in terms of what Mark Adams needed to do in terms of keeping this thing rolling. Nothing stops this train apparently, even with the coaching change, and that's great to see. And we'll be here at Inside the Red Raiders to cover it all for you. So with that, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.